Hi, I'm doing another giveaway, and this one is sponsored by the Etsy shop Mainly Fish Prints, and that's mainly spelled like the state, M-A-I-N-E, Mainly Fish Prints. And you can enter to win one set of coasters and one See and Fetch dog toy. Both are made from 100% recycled lobster float rope from the great state of Maine. Go to convome.com and click on the giveaways tab. Under the current giveaways section, you'll be able to learn more about the Etsy shop, Mainly Fish Prints, and you'll also be able to submit your entries to win. The last day to submit entries is Friday, March 13th, 2015 at 12 noon Pacific. Good luck.
Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm so glad that you have chosen to listen to the podcast today. And I'm your host, Ijama. And my guest today is Will. Will runs the Etsy shop Bookmarks and Maps. And his shop has been open since August 12th of 2014. And currently he has 11 sales. And Will, thank you for being my guest and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we start?
Sure. I'm 22 years old. I'm originally from San Diego, California, and I currently work in Philadelphia.
Oh, you left California for Philadelphia?
Well, yeah, not exactly. I didn't grow up in Philly, but I went to school on the East Coast as well. So not exactly like I've been living in California, for the past few years.
Okay, so I might start at East Coast, West Coast thing, but which do you prefer?
I prefer the East Coast.
No, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I like cities, and I like being in a city where a lot of stuff is happening. I mean, San Francisco's nice, but I'm from Southern California, so I haven't really been to San Francisco that much.
Yeah.
And yeah, everyone loves the weather and everything, but it gets pretty boring after a while. It's just monotonous, and I like the seasons.
Wow. Okay. That's encouraging to hear, actually, because sometimes I think, could I ever leave California? And I'm like, but where else would I go? Which I know it's completely California snobbish because the rest of the country is really nice. Every time I go to some other part of the country, I always think, I could see myself here. Then I come back to California and I'm like, oh, but it doesn't snow here. So why would I leave? But
which part of California do you live in?
I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, okay, well, that's good to hear. So now, when did you first discover Etsy?
No, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I don't really do much Etsy shopping myself, but I feel like I'd heard of it through friends at least a few years ago, through friends who bought things there, sold things there. But I don't know exactly when I'd heard of it. I was just sort of aware of it.
Okay. All right. And in Bookmarks and Maps, what do you sell?
So I sell these bookmarks that I make out of stamps, and I also sell maps, although I only have one on my page at the moment, but I have a lot more maps that I'm working to get up.
Okay. So there was something I was curious about, and I do see the map that you have on your site, in your shop. But one thing I was curious about was why you picked Etsy as opposed to somewhere like eBay where, people think, oh, you go to eBay for vintage stuff and one of a kind, not handmade necessarily.
Sure. I don't know. I guess the format of Etsy sort of appealed to me more because I think eBay, it's like people bid on it and it only lasts a few days. And I just feel like for the things that I have that aren't necessarily things that a ton of people are looking for all the time, that it's somewhat better to have it up for a little bit. Yeah. And I've also seen that people do sell maps on Etsy, so I think it works.
Okay.
For that.
Okay. So now you make these bookmarks out of stamps by hand.
Yeah.
Okay. How? So
I guess the place that I originally got the idea was in San Diego, where I grew up. There's this big park, and there's a UN gift shop,
Uh-huh.
and they sell like items from all over the world. And I remember at some point when I was a kid, I went in there, and they had like a few stamps in just sort of like a lamination strip that was like a bookmark of it was like Argentinian stamps. And I noticed it because it had one of the stamps had Eva Perón of Argentina.
Yeah.
And I'd always been sort of interested in history and stuff, so I thought it was interesting, so I bought it. And then a few years ago, my parents moved and I was helping them move, and my mom had this box of old letters that she didn't want anymore. And there were a lot of letters in there, and they were all from like the same few years, so a lot of the stamps were similar. So I thought, oh, I'll make, like a couple bookmarks for myself. And then so I did that. And then this past summer, I was in Berlin. I was there for 2 months this summer, and I was at a flea market, and I saw like a box, maybe like the size of a breadbasket, full of stamps. And I thought, oh, it would be cool little memento to make for myself, buy like 8 or 16 stamps and just make a bookmark.
Yeah.
And the guy who was selling it wanted something like 50 cents per stamp, which I thought was excessive considering the amount of stamps he had. And so I demurred, and I was walking away, and then he offered the entire box of stamps for something, I don't remember exactly what it was, maybe like 30 or 40 euros, something like that. So I thought, okay, that's a good deal. And then I thought, that I'll make and sell these stamps, because obviously there's way more bookmarks, than I could use.
That is so cool. I got into sewing patterns. The story is somewhat similar. I just wanted a few of the old looking ones to make collages, and the person who was selling them was just like, just take everything. I'm like, no, I just want to make one collage. He's like, and he kept dropping the price. So that's
right.
funny.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
Yeah, that's nice. So then my other question is, the stamps that you bought, they weren't current stamps. They were old, retired stamps, right?
Yeah, it was a box of used stamps that had been, for the most part, separated from whatever envelopes or postcards they had been on.
Okay.
But it was just, thousands. I didn't count them because there were just too many, but I would say at least probably 1,000 or 2,000. And so it took me several days to just sort through and get all the stamps into separate piles. Because I try to make the bookmarks, I try to have them, the same stamp, like many times on the same bookmark. So it took a few days just to sort them all. And, see which ones I had several of and which ones were just like one-offs.
And then did you research the stamps to find out how valuable they were, or what they were? Well, I guess they're all German, but did you research them to see if there was any additional value to them?
I researched a few. They're not actually all German. They're from all over.
Okay.
Mostly European.
Okay.
But and a lot of German because it was in Germany. But there were a lot of stamps from other places too. I did research, or I tried to research some of them, but I didn't really get far with the research. Also, I don't know that much about stamps per se. I just think they look interesting, and I like them sort of as little, historical things. But I think stamps are more valuable if they're like unused. So, for instance, there were like 6 Hitler stamps that were in there. I thought, oh, these might be valuable just because I thought that, but I think they were worth maybe like 20 cents each or something like that. So not really the gold mine I had thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a bunch of stamps that I saw that were older, but which I just knew based on, they said like Deutsches Reich, which is like Nazi Germany. So I knew they weren't as current. And I just sort of kept those aside.
Okay.
But I haven't done much research on them now.
Okay. So when you opened your Etsy shop, was there any what was your intention? Was it just to get a nice side income, or did you have other goals?
No, it was mainly just for the side income, because I don't really make anything else. And yeah, I just thought that this would be the best way to get these bookmarks out there because, they're crafts, I guess, and I think they're interesting, at least.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that'd be a good way to sell them.
Do you enjoy selling on Etsy?
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to use, which I like, and you can just change all the things, and yeah, it's really nice.
Okay. Do you anticipate that you might expand your product line, or you're happy with the bookmarks and the maps? Well, your Etsy shop kind of says it. I mean, the name. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I might, for instance, I sold a book that I got here in Philly. So just, I mean, I might post like, miscellaneous items, but mostly it's just I have the maps because I really like old maps, and I have way more than I could do anything with. So I have a bunch that are really nice, but I don't want any more that I'm looking to sell.
Yeah.
So I'm going to post those on Etsy.
Okay.
But yeah, I think mostly just the bookmarks and the maps.
Okay. So then, do you have a job outside of Etsy?
Yeah, I'm a research assistant at the University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice. All right. So how do you balance your time between, I assume you work full time.
I work part-time.
You work part-time. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it easy to balance the time that you spend working and also selling on Etsy, taking care of Etsy related stuff?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't spend that much time aside from when I initially like create a listing. Maybe I'll go back and edit it a couple times, but for the most part, I just sort of leave it. So it doesn't really take that much time for me.
Okay. Have you found that there are any other Etsy shops that sell bookmarks that are similar to yours with the same theme, I guess, with stamps?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's something I tried to find because I was trying to see, how I could promote it or whatnot. I found one that had, I don't know if I assume they're actually stamps. It was hard to tell from the pictures and the description, but it's like they have these sort of thicker, like maybe like cardboard stock style bookmark, and then with stamps, and they're stamps based on like a color. So like a bunch of different stamps that are all green, or a bunch of different stamps that are all red.
Okay.
But that's the closest thing that I've been able to find.
Okay. So so far have you been, how was your, what's the word I want to use? Your learning curve on Etsy. Was it easy to just get in there and figure stuff out?
I mean, it was easy to figure things out in terms of using the website, but in terms of promotion, that I had to sort of look at other Etsy pages and sort of how they tagged things and how they wrote their descriptions and that sort of thing, just to sort of perfect that. Well, not necessarily that I've perfected it, but to get it a little bit better.
To help you along.
Yeah.
So how are you promoting your Etsy shop?
Well, that's the thing. I don't have any sort of I don't have like a Facebook or Twitter or any sort of social media accounts. So it's sort of difficult on that end. So I posted, on a website called Reddit. I saw that there's an Etsy on Reddit where you can go, like I found it because I was looking for advice on something. I don't remember what. But then I saw that they have like a weekly, like post your shop. So I did that once, and that seemed to work actually. I got a lot of views and I think a couple sales because of that. But other than that, I haven't really been doing anything, which is probably why sales have been slow, but it's not really a rush for me.
Yeah. I am familiar with the Etsy Reddit thread. I recently someone introduced me to it, and every once in a while I go on there, and it really is nice because people exchange information, and it does drive traffic too because you can put in a link to wherever,
Right.
and it's a good traffic generator. For 2015, do you have any plans to do more Etsy shop promotion, or are you happy with where things are?
I mean, I would obviously always like, more sales because I have more bookmarks waiting to be made that I haven't like completed yet because I want to sell at least a few more first. But I don't really have any plans to promote just because really I don't know what else to do. Because I don't have I feel like, if I had a Facebook or Instagram or something like that, that would definitely be the way to do it, but I don't have those. So
yeah, those do help. But is the reason you don't have it because of time, or it's because it is a time investment? Once you start a Facebook page and Twitter, you have to engage with people.
Right. No, I mean, I had a Facebook for a while. I got rid of it maybe like a year or two ago. I don't know. I didn't really use it that much, and I didn't really want it, so I just got rid of it. So yeah, I guess it's more of the time commitment thing.
Yeah.
That I just don't want to put in the time.
Have you dabbled in Etsy Teams yet?
So Etsy what?
Teams.
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay. So Etsy has teams that you can join, and all the teams have different focal points. So some are for promotion, some are for marketing, some are more affinity groups like people who make bookmarks or people who sell maps. And so you can find a team that fits whatever interest or interest that you have. And teams really help to increase your exposure. There are treasury teams too, where people make treasuries and include other people's items, and that helps to drive traffic and attention to your shop. I would recommend you check out Etsy Teams.
Yeah, I definitely will check that out. I hadn't heard of that before.
Okay.
But I'll definitely look into that.
Now, do you blog or about what you do, or do you have a website as well outside of Etsy?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
So how much time would you say you spend taking care of Etsy related business?
Not that much really. I guess I've tinkered with the listings a little bit, just trying to promote certain items and just making the descriptions maybe a little bit clearer and more enticing. But I'd say the main thing that I spend time on in regards to Etsy is just going to the post office when I get an order. Over Christmas, I got a lot of orders like right back to back. Like 2 times I was at the post office and I got an email saying I had a new order, but I was already there. And then so I had to go all the way back home and back again.
That's kind of a good problem to have.
No, it was a good problem.
Do you try and ship immediately you get an order, or do you wait till you have multiple before you go to the post office, or every order you get you immediately fulfill?
Yeah, I try to do it as quickly as possible. Because aside from that short period before Christmas, normally it would just be like one order and then, maybe another week or 2 weeks and then another order. So I would just go, the next day to the post office.
Okay. Do you find that you're constantly on a roll with creating the bookmarks, or sometimes you just don't feel the inspiration to create any new ones? And what do you do if you get to that point?
Well, so I basically made all of them sort of in one go. Well, not, on the same day, but after I had sorted them in my apartment, I had them like laid out on my desk, and then I just sort of made them all at once. I mean, it's sort of a 2-step one step is like, laying out the bookmarks and gluing them to the paper and making sure that they're all, lined up and everything like that, and that design is symmetrical. And then the other step is just going and getting them laminated and cutting them out. So I had just a stack of, these little sort of note card sized papers, with stamps glued to them that I just made like one after another over the course of maybe, I don't know, it took a while actually. It might have taken like a week or a week and a half of just doing that.
Do you have multiples of each design, or are they all one of a kind?
Well, they're not all one of a kind, but I don't have multiples of all of them. Basically I just have whatever stamps I had in that, in the box I bought. Okay. So some of the stamps were, way more common. There were like 40 of them, whereas others there were like 8, so enough to make like one bookmark.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of them I have multiples. Most of them I have just the one.
Okay. So now you've been selling on Etsy for it's less than a year. What is something you would say you've learned the hard way from selling on Etsy? And if not the hard way, just something that you've learned that you want to share with the listener.
I guess tagging, like the tagging the items. I don't remember exactly how many tags you get, like 13 or something like that. But initially I would do like 3. I would do like bookmark and stamp and like stamp bookmark. But then I found that if I just use as many terms as possible, that, someone searches for something like Berlin and, one of the bookmarks says Berlin on it, that's a way to get it. So I would definitely say use all of the like tags.
And how do you figure out what tags to use?
Well, so the bookmarks or the stamps that I do make into bookmarks, I do make an effort to like look those stamps up. I found this really good website that just has like an inventory of what seemingly is like every stamp ever made. So I look up on there like what year the stamp is, and who or what it's depicting, and then I use that for the tags. So if I have a stamp of, I don't know, a certain politician, I'll tag them in it, and so for instance, I have this one that has Lenin on it, so I tagged like Lenin and communism and East Germany and all these things. Okay.
Do you ever look at your shop stats to see what terms people are using to find your shop?
Yeah, I have looked at that. A lot of the terms are things just like Germany. So I guess it's been good to say like the country of origin of the stamps.
Okay. What's something that you're doing in your shop that you think is helping to make it successful or will in the long run?
Well, I just figured out a way to sort of promote items so that you can have them appear at the top of like the listings. So I put some of the stamps that I have multiple of up there. So I'm hoping that will sort of direct people, if they're just looking at the shop, those are the first things that you see, that those will be more popular. But I don't know. I've also had trouble with pricing. Like I've tinkered with the prices a lot because I don't really know what sort of, I don't really know what price to put for the bookmarks, because there's not really there's no standard. Right. So I've tinkered with those a bit as well.
One thing I'll say when you're doing your pricing, pay yourself in there. So take that into account, because you are putting some time and effort into it.
Right. Yeah.
Now, what's the best way people can reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
The Etsy messaging system, I mean, that goes when I get a message on Etsy, then that gets forwarded to my email, so I see it, immediately.
Okay. Do you use the Etsy app? I'm just curious.
No, I don't.
Okay. No, you don't have to. I'm just curious. I was going to ask what you think about it and what your thoughts were.
No, I haven't looked at it.
Okay. And is there one last thing you want to share about your Etsy journey with the listener?
I don't know really. I mean, I'm really glad that something like Etsy exists, because I mean, I've given away bookmarks to like family and friends, but otherwise I just have, this giant pile of stamps that are useless. So I'm glad that I can, repurpose them and then maybe make a little bit of side income as well. Yes. So yeah, it's nice.
Good. And congratulations. I wish you the best of luck in your Etsy shop. Thank you for coming on the Etsy Conversations podcast. And again, Will's shop name is Bookmarks and Maps. I'm going to have links to his Etsy shop in the show notes. Feel free to hop over there, take a look at what he's doing. It's quite unique, and he also sells maps there too. So thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast, and I will be back next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.